Good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Dawsbird, and as always, I'm super excited to be here on Sunday. It is December 19th. Yeah, this year for 2021 has gone by so quickly. I don't have any real live guests today. I wanted today's show to be a year in review. I wanted to take the opportunity to go over some of the shows that I had some extraordinary guests. I mean, all of my guests were pretty extraordinary. It was really hard for me to decide which ones to select, so much so that I'm going to have a part 2 that we're going to do in a few weeks. But for today, it's about 5 or 6 conversations that I had with some interesting guests this year in 2021. And, you know, my hope is that you're going to enjoy the conversations and some of the things that we highlighted for the year. My first one that I wanted to bring up was Vera Moore. Vera Moore was the president and but still is the president of her own cosmetic company, CEO and founder of it. Very interesting woman, born and raised in New York City, living in Queens. She's a Queens girl through and through. Started her career through acting, singing and acting, doing some things on Off-Broadway and Broadway, and got into television and just really discovered that the makeup that they were using was just not for Black people. It was not for women of color. It was very offensive, if you will. It was hot, just didn't do well. She just didn't like it at all and started thinking. And that was the start of where she is today. But we're going to take you to the clip where she talks a little bit about really just, again, being a Queens girl, growing up in Queens, her family dynamics, the love that she got from her mother and father, especially her mom just influencing her and inspiring her to go above and beyond and to not settle. So sit tight for the clip. Our workshops and through the media, this platform right here. I've been doing this piece here for about 5 years, so going into my 6th season, as a matter of fact. So this gives us an opportunity to talk about the issues and challenges that women may face, and we walk away with the empowerment piece, which is the tools, right? We talk about things and strategies and how to problem solve some of the things that we're facing. Today's not going to be any different. Today is going to be all about entrepreneurship, and you know, I'm super excited about that. But before we get into that, I want to share with you today's sponsor. Yay! Today's sponsor is Gas Food Truck ATL. Good ass sandwiches and more. My friends, yes, Kelly and Jay doing it big time. This is vegan food, right? No meat. This is all natural, interesting, delicious. It tastes as good as it looks. Go check them out. They're on IG as Gas Food Truck ATL. They're on IG and Facebook, and they're primarily in the Triton Yards on Friday and Sunday from I think 11 to about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So follow them and get that bite to eat. We're going to close out with them as well. Today's guest, oh man, this is an honor because this is a pioneer person. This is a CEO and the president of her own cosmetic company from New York. We're going to get into all of that. I love her spirit, her personality. She's a beautiful person inside and out. Today's topic is Beauty is Her Name, and my guest today is Vera Moore. Hi, Vera.
Hi, how are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Well, I'm terrific, and thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm ecstatic.
Oh, yeah, I could tell. It's written all over your face. Let's jump right into it. I mentioned that you're from New York. Is that a true statement? Are you born and raised from New York City?
Yes, I most certainly was, honey. I was born and raised in Corona, Queens.
Wow, you're a Queens girl. Come on, girl. That's awesome. You still reside in New York, Vera?
Yes, I'm in Long Island. It's still New York.
You're still New York. Still New York. Yes. Tell me, Vera, a little bit about your neighborhood growing up in Queens or just in New York in general. Tell me, what was it like as a kid for you? Set the stage for us.
Well, you know, I was born in a little town called Corona, Queens, and it was a poor neighborhood. My mother and father, we were a poor family. Matter of fact, you would say we were a poor family, but I didn't know we were poor.
Okay.
No, I didn't know because my mother always told us about yes, you can. Mm-hmm. You see, I didn't learn yes, you can in the last decade.
Okay.
We knew that. My mother was a domestic worker.
Wow.
She scrubbed floors. My father was a porter. Mm-hmm. He learned how to read from the Bible. But we were always taught we could do it no matter what. I had 5 brothers.
Right.
one sister, so there was 7 of us. I went to public school 143, 127.
Yeah.
And I remember, Michelle, I didn't know I was poor until I got older.
Really?
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Because I never was hungry, thank God. Thank God for that. I never was hungry. Well, she was a domestic worker. We ate all the food that they brought home. I'm very serious about that.
Yeah.
Really. And I never wanted for clothes because my aunt worked in a factory. Very, very expensive materials in the factory. She'd bring all the scraps home. She'd make clothes. They didn't even need a pattern. They'd say, "Turn around, girl. Let me make you something." So I guess I was wearing couture, and I didn't even know when I was a child.
Wow.
So I always had clothes. I always had food. But I remember going to school with a hole in my shoe.
Really?
Yeah, really. I remember going to school, and my mother used to put cardboard in it.
Wow. Okay.
And she would say to me, "Don't worry, Mommy's going to get you some shoes next week." And so it never really fazed me. I never went, "Oh, I got a hole in my shoe." No. My mother was going to get it for me the following week, my mom and my dad. And I just went, and we were just raised that way. Right. We were always perceived. It's about perception and the mindset. And I was taught from the beginning, I belong, and yes, you can.
Wow. So you had it before Obama had it. Yes, you can.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Yes, I had yes, I can with my grandmother. That grandmother, girl, yeah, you can do it. Go ahead and do it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. So Vera, help us to understand. Set us up some more. So how did you get on this track? I want to at least start with the acting piece, because I think that helps segue to what we see in you today. So how did you get the acting bug? How did that opportunity present itself?
Well, as I said, I never thought I was going to be an entrepreneur, but how did the acting start and the singing? I grew up in the church. I grew up in a Christian family, and I sang in the choir. Sunday school, church, after church, go in the back and eat the chicken, come back and do, the whole thing.
Right.
And I always loved to sing. And anytime there was an opportunity to do anything, at high school, at junior, I'll do it. I was never afraid. Thank God for that. Fear never paralyzed me. I guess I was so young I didn't realize what fear was. It's like telling a baby jump and the baby jumps.
Right.
So I've always wanted to sing. So when I had the opportunity to audition, I did. And I'm going to tell you a little story real quick about relationships. Now, that kind of goes with cosmetics and entrepreneurship, but it's really important. I knew I had to get a job. I didn't go to college. So right out of high school, I had to work. And there used to be people coming from the agencies like the city and the federal government to the high schools to see who wanted to take a test.
Okay.
To work.
Right.
And I said, Ma, she says, take the test. Listen, if you don't pass it, you don't pass it. And I was taking stenography. I took stenography on purpose because I knew I could get a job with shorthand and typing.
Right.
So I always had a strategy.
Yeah.
Always had a plan.
Yeah.
So I took the test, fast forward, I got it. Worked for the federal government, and when I first got it, I was in a pool with a lot of people, like about 50, 60, the whole floor. And I said, I don't want to be in this pool with all these people. I want to be upstairs with Michelle on the 3rd floor with the lawyer. And see, up on the 3rd floor, you had the lawyer and the secretary.
Yeah.
So my mother said, well, take a test. You don't get it, you don't get it. I took the test.
Yeah, got it.
But what was so nice about it, this is entrepreneurship, and this is also personal. I made a relationship with the lawyer. And I said, Mr. Greenberg, I really want to be in the theater. He said, yeah, okay. I guess he didn't take me serious. Yeah. So do you mind if I go to auditions on my lunch hour? Now that's a good, that's a big deal. We're down at Wall Street, Customs. I worked for Customs.
Yeah.
And uptown was where you went to audition.
Yeah.
So the relationship was key. My strategy was on point. I knew what I wanted to do.
Wow.
I knew I had to work to save my money because my mother couldn't help me, so I could buy my music. Yeah. And I saved my money. So I had to go to lunch.
Yeah, very interesting conversation with Vera Moore. Again, just really inspirational and inspiring to all women, really Black women especially, starting her business out in Queens and just really creating a legacy with her cosmetics and changing the brand and changing how we view ourselves as Black women. So it was an awesome conversation. Feel free to go to my YouTube channel to see that conversation in its entirety. My next one was Renee Seiler. Really enjoyed Renee because before there was a Gayle King on CBS Morning, it was Renee Seiler. And Renee was She's a beautiful woman, just a lot of energy, a lot of experience and information. And she walked us through the process, you know, born in Illinois, but was raised in California, very close to her family as well, especially her sister. And just, you know, while she was in college, she decided to really see what this communications thing was all about. And I found her to be very inspirational, especially because that's the kind of path that I'm taking here with doing this type of stuff. So it was really good and intriguing to hear her viewpoint on how she got started and you know, what led her to get on CBS Morning Show and what happened and how she got let go and wasn't there anymore. So sit tight for that clip. Public speaking, mentoring, workshops, and the arts. And the arts is this media platform in which we're here with you today, and I'm always excited about doing it. I am slowly approaching my 5th year in doing this, so thank you so much, guys, for checking this out every first and third Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We could not do this without you, so we're so thankful that you decide to spend some time with us every first and third Sunday so we can have these conversations. Without further ado, I am super excited about my guests. I love all my guests. Let me just be honest. My guests are pretty phenomenal people, but today I get to talk to someone that I truly admire as a journalist, as a professional person that's been working in the industry, as a mom, as an author, all these other things, as a blogger. I have none other than Renee Seiler with me. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hi, Michelle. How are you doing?
I am good.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you had some time to share with us this afternoon. Let's just jump in because I feel you have just a wealth of experience and just things that you can enlighten our listeners with. So, born in Illinois, were you, right? And then raised in Sacramento, right? Let's start it from there, right?
Right. So I don't remember any of Illinois because I was, spirited away as a young girl. My parents ended up, we were in the military. My mom and dad were in the military. So I was born at Scott Air Force Base, but was actually raised in Sacramento, California, or more appropriately, Fair Oaks, California, which is a suburb of Sacramento. So yeah, I didn't spend any time in Illinois.
Not in Illinois. So tell me, what was the neighborhood like for you in California, especially in that Sacramento area? Tell me, what was it like for you?
It's funny that you should ask that because I have been really interested in my childhood and upbringing. So I'll tell you what I remember, and then I'm going to tell you why this has been a point of interest for me. My sister and I, she's younger than me by about 22 months, but we grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood. And this would have been probably in the late 60s. So the schools that we went to were predominantly white. The neighborhood was predominantly white, and that's the area that we grew up in. The question I've had lately is how did we get there? Because we were there prior to the passage of the Federal Housing Act. So we were the only Black family in the neighborhood. And I'm so curious about how our family was the first one there. My dad is deceased, so I can't ask him. And my mother has dementia, so she can't really remember. And so it's up to my sister and I to try to piece this together. But I find that really fascinating. What happened that allowed our family to be the first family to move into that neighborhood?
Yeah. It could have been tied to
I've never seen anything like this. But then I went to the ABC affiliate, and I was must not have been, I'm not sure if it was on a weekend or not. It might have been a weekend because I think I had to report also. You had to do everything. And I saw I had gone out on 2 stories where, one on a Saturday, one on a Sunday, and they both involved a deceased person. And in the same weekend, it was like, do I want to do this? It was really hard. And you know what? Never saw anything like that again.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness. But that was that could have been a turning point for you. So that's an excellent way for us to segment the next question, because I wanted to understand your goals at this time, because again, you read about this journalist in Boston that was making a lot of money. But what were your goals? Were you trying to get to that same plateau, be this like #1 anchor woman per se, like, or be maybe the next Barbara Walters, or what was your goal or objective at that time?
Wow, you'd think that would be something I could remember kind of off the top of my head, and I really can't. I just know that I enjoyed, I've always been a storyteller. I've always been interested in other people's stories and what makes other people do the things they do. So that was like, part of the reason that I went into this. I sort of went into it because I felt like I was good at the storytelling. I was good at the listening. I was good at the communication part, the actual looking into the lens and speaking to people and being able to, work through that level of, when you are speaking to a camera, and you're trying to get to the home audience, there's like a layer that you have to kind of penetrate through. And I was able to do that sort of naturally. And so those were the things that kept me or got me interested in doing this was that, knowing how to be a communicator. I didn't have any real, desire to be Barbara Walters or Carol Simpson or anything like that, and really didn't think I would ever ascend to a level like that because, you're from Sacramento, and I had a college instructor say, many of you won't even make it to the anchor desk. And I was like, what? Yeah. Right. It was so it was so weird because it's like, aren't you supposed to be encouraging us? Yeah. And anyway, so I don't remember exactly what my goal was, except to just be the best anchor and reporter that I could be.
So tell us, how did you get to CBS, The Early Show? Tell us, how did you get there?
Well, let's see. Wow. I'm really having to go back here. I was working at the CBS affiliate in Dallas, and I had a great life. But I had 2 kids, and I had, in television, you were either working the morning shift or you were working the evening shift, and neither one of those is really conducive to a good family life. But when I was there, I was working this sort of mid-range shift, so I would do the noon show and then the 5 and 6, and then I was out. So I could get home in time to put my kids to bed. I was able to be there when they woke up, all that stuff.
Great.
Well, all of that ended when television revenue started getting tight. But it didn't end until I was already gone. So I'm telling you a lot right now, but basically, while I was in that shift, I got a call from my agent at the time who said, CBS wants to revamp its morning show and they are looking for people, and why don't you submit a tape? And I was like, Henry, I literally had just built a house. My life was good. I said, I can't do that. We just moved into this house like a month ago. And he said, oh, Renee, just send it. You never know what'll happen. Well, I sent it, and you know what happened? They called me out for an interview. So it was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting the job from there. At the same time, there were some shifts happening in television, and they were looking for places to cut. They're always looking for places to cut. But instead of having 3 anchor teams, they could make it 2 by making the morning anchor also do the noon show. And then you would have the evening anchors do the 5, 6, and 10, right? Or 5, 6, and 11 or whatever. So that was all happening as I was leaving. So had I stayed there, I would have probably been out of a job.
Yeah. And I don't understand the cuts, Renee, because as much advertising that goes on during the broadcast, during shows, you would think that there would be enough, to sustain people's salaries or keep staff on and all that kind of stuff. Because, during that time when you were on, that type of television was pretty big. It was very competitive.
Well, and that's exactly the problem is that the pie, which was like this with 3 slices taken out of it, is now like this with 17 million slices taken out of it because viewership is down. People don't watch TV as much as they used to. And the people who are watching television are old. They skew old. Advertisers don't want old viewers because old viewers tend to be what they call brand exclusive. For example, if I asked you what kind of detergent, what kind of laundry detergent do you use? I'm seriously asking you that, Michelle. Which laundry detergent that you use?
Tide.
Tide. How long have you been using Tide?
For years, 20 years, long time. That's why they don't want to mess with
me. Me too.
Yeah.
I've been using Tide since I've been doing laundry. But, so then why would somebody who's coming to you with a gang advertisement be interested in somebody like you or me who's already brand loyal to Tide? So that's where the problem is, and that's where the hang up becomes. So the older skewing viewer, the less they can charge for advertising. And that's why they're in the position that they're in.
Yeah.
Not to mention young people. I raised 2 kids who are now 23 and 25 almost. They probably never watched a news show, even the ones I was on. They get their news from other places.
Yes.
So those things are having an impact on advertising.
The times have changed. The times are changing. So tell me, Renee, if you can, what happened with you and your relationship with the early show? Because you were there for 4 years and then you got fired. What happened? Can you share anything with that?
Of course.
Sure.
Oh, please. Yes. Yeah. I mean,
I just want to be respectful.
I have no secrets.
Come on, Renee. Spill the tea, as they say. Give us the tea, Renee.
Here's the problem. If you let somebody else control your narrative, then you're always going to live in fear.
Yeah.
So I'm not letting anybody else control my narrative. I lost my job. I got fired, which if you've been in television long enough, you've been fired. This is not special. I'm not special. I just was there when they decided to make a change. When television stations want to change their branding, they don't just change their color scheme or their graphics. They change their talent.
Yes.
And that's part of the risk you take being on air. That's why you get paid a lot of money for a number of reasons, but that's one of them. Because when they decide the station management changes and they wake up one day and they say, we don't like her anymore, you're out. And they don't have to explain anything. They don't have to do anything contractually. They can do that. Yeah. And so that's what happened. Wow. I mean, I don't feel any kind of way about it. It was fine at the time because, I was having this, I had a double mastectomy right after I was, had been fired from CBS. So it was good that I didn't have to race back and all this stuff. And then the other thing is, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. I had a contract that they had to pay out. So I did okay on my way out.
So that's a good
As
thing.
they say.
You did all right. So now we're focused. We don't have to worry about going to work. Okay, but now we're dealing with our health now. So tell us about the discovery of that, Renee, and how that made you feel. Give us a little background on your mastectomy there, if you can.
Yeah. So I did not have breast cancer. I had a condition that was the sort of the stage before breast cancer.
Okay.
It was called hyperplasia. And so I had 2 first-degree relatives with breast cancer, my mother and my father. Men can and do get breast cancer. It's a small number, but when they do, it's more alarming to medical staff because men don't have estrogen and progesterone in the same levels or estrogen in the same levels as women do. So therefore, if a man presents with breast cancer, it's almost like it's a genetic thing because they don't have the same hormones. So to have 2 first-degree relatives with that was very alarming to them. So I had been having biopsies, and some were surgical and some were stereotactic, and every year for 4 years. And by the end of the 4-year period, so much of my breast tissue was gone that I was like, this doesn't feel like a great way to be living right now.
Right.
And so I had a great doctor at the time who was European trained, and he was like, listen, there's this surgery for people like you. But first we need to find out, do you carry the gene, the BRCA gene? If you don't, we could still talk about the surgery, but it's going to change. Like, we're not going to put you on the hormone, tamoxifen, which actually is the medication that suppresses the hormones. But if I had the gene for that, they would have prescribed that for me, because you can't, you're trying to stop the progression of the disease, or at least the beginnings of it. Anyway, so I had the genetic test. This is really important, a point that I think I try to share, particularly with Black women. When I had the genetic test, the doctor said there are 3 potential outcomes. You could show a positive BRCA test, a negative BRCA test, which is the BRCA, or what they call undetermined variant. The undetermined variant means that we have information on you, but there isn't enough data in the pool for us to make a decision. And the reason there's not enough data in the pool is because not enough Black women were a part of the pool, were a part of the medical testing.
Wow.
So that's a big one with me, is that, and it took another 10 years before they were finally able to say, we have enough data to be able to determine that this doesn't mean, what we thought it would mean.
Wow.
But that's really important. We have to look at, how active are we in clinical tests and that kind of thing.
I mean, we're strengthening our muscles, Renee, in the sense of just getting our mammograms done regularly, like we're supposed to, so the doctors don't have to beat us over the head anymore like they did maybe previously, like years ago, because we know the importance of us knowing whether or not, and the fact that we have witnessed people's lives change by early detection. So now we feel more hopeful that, oh my God, if there is something, we can get ahead of it. So, but there's just, we're not invited to the table for any other type of clinical studies or conversations.
But we have to, that's on us to find out. So we have to educate ourselves. We need to ask, we need to, we need to be empowered to ask questions, to ask second opinions, that kind of thing. You're right about the mammograms. And here's the piece that's really frustrating, is that Black women typically have a poor prognosis once a cancer is found. So it has to be, breast cancer, along with prostate cancer for men, are among the most curable cancers if they are found early. All cancer has a better prognosis if it's found early. But the people, you can't hide your head in the sand. You can't say, I don't want to know, because sooner or later you will know. You will know. The question is, will you know in time for you to do something about it? That's really the question.
So now you're going through this. All right, that was a very powerful conversation with Renee Seiler, giving us a lot of information, her journey, how she decided to get into journalism and doing what she does, and then her health was really a passionate point for her, because she just wanted us to get out, make sure we get tested, make sure we are aware of what our health conditions are. Oftentimes we take advantage or take for granted that we feel okay, so everything must be okay, and that is not always the case. So thanks to Renee for enlightening us. My next one was pretty cute. I liked her too. We had a really good time. It was a talk with Tysha Fernandez here in Atlanta. She's on WSB TV Channel 2. That's an ABC affiliate. In the streets, covering the news as it happens, and has been doing it for quite some time. She's Cape Verdean, right? Most people may or may not know that, but her family is Cape Verdean, and they migrated into the Boston area. So when we slide to this clip, we'll talk about her dealing with racism as an early child. Not so much them using the N-word, but because of her last name, they made some assumptions and they tried to box her into certain categories. And her mother, God bless her, was not having it. Again, Tysha's another person that got a lot of love from her mother and father, a lot of support from her parents that helped her, drive her passion and figure out who she is. She went to Howard University. She's just a wonderful, smart, intelligent person and will not be played. So hold on as we go to this clip. So today my topic is a talk with Tysha. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, and good to see you again. And thank you for all the compliments.
Oh yes, you're wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Let's just jump right in. Let's jump right in. Where are you from?
So I am from Brockton, Massachusetts, which is just south of Boston. For people in Atlanta, I always say I'm from the College Park, East Point-ish part of Boston, like about 20 minutes down south.
Yeah.
Grew up there, and I didn't go to Howard right away.
Okay.
I went to UMass Amherst, chasing a boy. And even though everybody in my family told me not to do it, because my plan was to always go to Howard, I thought I was Denise Huxtable. I wanted to go to Hillman, which is really Howard, because Debbie Allen, the executive producer, went to Howard. For all you people who think it's Hampton, it's not. I'm sorry to bust your bubble. It's Howard. So I got derailed from my plan, went to UMass, hated it. Nothing against people who graduated from UMass, but it just was not for me.
Yeah.
And then he got somebody else pregnant, which was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Broke my heart, but I would have never really gone and chased my dreams if that didn't happen. So I transferred to Howard in 1999 because I graduated from high school in 97 and pursued my broadcast journalism career. Yeah, and I was anchoring the news station at Howard. And it's crazy that I even got that because I totally messed up the audition.
Really?
I mean, really messed up.
Well, how?
I was like squinting at the teleprompter. I didn't know my cues. I was messing everything up. I was stuttering. But my professor saw something in me, that I didn't see. And I got that position at Howard, and I became an anchor at the school. And that kind of just started the hard journey and road. It still wasn't easy, even though that happened. It was still a difficult road to get to WSB.
It wasn't. It was a good thing. It was a very good thing. And I want to go back to the Boston years for just a second.
Yes.
What was it like for you as a kid growing up in Boston?
So a lot of people who have never been to Boston they say, oh, there's black people in Boston? There's plenty of black people in Boston. The reason why people say that is because there are not a lot of black decision makers in Boston. There are a lot more now than there were when I was growing up, but I experienced a lot of racism growing up. I watched my brother's uncle's father get harassed by the police a lot. You know, my parents had to talk with us about how you act with police very young. And it just always felt like we were capped. Like, you can do well until you get to right here, and then you can't do anything past this. And it was very clear. The racism is very clear up north. I feel like well, let me back up a little bit. It can be hidden because there are a lot of, no one runs around in Klan uniforms or anything, or they don't say the N-word out loud like they do in the South a lot. But, they're police, they're judges, they're teachers, they're everywhere. I want to tell you a story real quick. So I was in the gifted program. I got into the gifted program in the 4th grade. I went 4th, 5th, and 6th. And while I was going into the 7th grade, my mom just trusted that the school system would do what they were supposed to do and look at my records. They looked at my last name, and I guess all the other people, or most of the other people with my last name, were in basic and standard, and they never opened my file because they just put me in basic standard. So I get to my first day of school, and it's like a party. And I've never been in basic or standard. I've always been in honors advanced, where it's like really serious. So I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I was having a good time. People had boom boxes. I'm talking about, this is like 92, 91, 92. So I was like, I'm not saying anything. So I didn't say anything. I said, I'm going to tell my mom Monday. School started Monday. I said, I'm just going to have fun this week, and then I'm going to tell my mom. Well, Friday, they brought me to what's called Chapter 1, and they tried to teach me how to read in the 7th grade. And I said, okay, I can't fake this. I can't play this anymore. I don't belong here. And the woman said, sweetie, nobody belongs here. And I said, no, you don't understand. When my mother finds out that you all put me in this class, we're all going to be in trouble. And she just laughed at me. I went home, told my mom what happened. My mom was a teacher in Boston, in the city of Boston. She took Monday off, came up to that school, and I'll never forget, she demanded answers. I want to know why my daughter was put in this basic class. And I just remember everybody in the office, faces beat red, the principal's face beat red, because no one wanted to admit that they never looked at my file. My mother brought it all the way to the superintendent. I don't even know if anybody got fired, but I know heads were turned and people were rocked, and hopefully that stopped that from happening, at least at that school. But that is rooted racism. I mean, right in your face. You just judged me by my last name, like she couldn't be in advance.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's the kind of things I dealt with growing up. It's not the, you N-word, you this, you that. It's like, we're going to make sure that you don't succeed easily. Yeah. I tell everybody that story, and educators in Brockton hate to hear that story, but I'm like, you're going to hear the truth.
That's the truth. And so how soon did you get to go to your right class? Did they do it?
Well, my mother took me out of that school. She took me out of that school because she didn't want me under the direction of those educators. So I went to a different junior high school, because in Brockton, it's north, south, east, and west junior high schools. And so I just went to East Junior High and had a much better experience. And you know how news travels. So everybody had heard that my mother had done all this and gone to the superintendent, so they made sure that I personally didn't have any more problems like that. But imagine the kids who didn't have a teacher for a mom. You know what I mean? Or somebody who didn't have a voice. And I am Cape Verdean, which is West African and Portuguese mixed. Portugal colonized this West African country. And so there are a lot of Cape Verdeans in Brockton, and a lot of their parents didn't speak English back then. So they would never have someone to go to bat for them like I did. My dad is Cape Verdean, my mother is Black American, who grew up very poor and got a scholarship to Boston University. And, that is who I had as a mother, thank God.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of and when I posted this once on Facebook, and a lot of people shared their stories at that particular school and at other schools. So I know a lot of people didn't excel the way that they were supposed to because they didn't have the backup that I had.
My gosh.
That's the kind of racism we dealt with in Massachusetts, and hopefully it's not still like that.
No. Do you go back to talk to
Oh God, yes. So I have a lot of relatives in the school system now. My brother works in the school system now. He's actually he's contracted by the school system. He goes to all different schools, and so I go back. I've talked to that particular school before. I've talked to different high schools. My favorite group is that 12 to 16. 12, because I feel like that is when a lot of boys and girls decide, am I going this way or am I going this way? Am I taking the easy road? Am I taking the high road? Am I taking the hard road? Am I taking the good road? What do I want to be? Because you really do start to mold into who you are at that age, and who you're around, and the people who are either supporting you, uplifting you, or suppressing you has a lot to do with what turns out.
A lot. In middle school and junior high school is a very difficult period because kids are going through changes. They're going through an awareness of their body. Sexual preference. Liking, not liking.
And do you like yourself?
Do you like yourself? And it's a whole lot of pressure. And then some pockets of educators, not all, kind of group and stereotype kids anyway. Right? So the junior high school is very difficult because you're not little kids in elementary and you're not in high school. So it's like this gray space. Anyway. Man, I really enjoyed Tysha. She was awesome. We had a good time. And one thing that we knew that you guys didn't know, was that she was pregnant. At the time she did the interview, she was rubbing her little bundle of joy. So she's expecting, I think within the next couple of weeks, she's expecting a boy. She's super excited. She looks amazing. Feel free to follow her on Instagram, Tysha Fernandez. She's just doing some really cute and innovative things, being a mom, staying fit, keeping her energy up, just really excited about bringing a life into the world. And so we send our congratulations to Tysha and her husband and her family for that birth that's coming, that baby boy that's coming into her life. My next one is hip hop's favorite girl. That was Leslie Segar. Man, I was so just tickled to talk to her because I am a living single fan. I watch it every Saturday morning, the replay. But I remember when it first aired in the 90s, I was glued watching that show all the time. And so Leslie's the dancer, the person that you see at the opening credits of the show. She's had a phenomenal career, 90s hip hop girl. She's just America's girl in the space of hip hop because she was a dancer. She did choreography for a lot of the artists back in the day, especially Mary J. Blige. She did 30 videos that she choreographed, some she directed. She's just a phenomenal talent. And then she was the first female to be on Rhapsody on BET back in the 90s. And, you know, my conversation with her, she talked about how she was a club kid and she was hanging around with people like Rosie Perez and some of the other fly girls back in that day, and how they was hanging out at all the clubs and, you know, just trying to make these ends meet and just trying to get their first break. So the conversation, we're going to take you back to that. And then also she's going to share with us what Bob Johnson really thought about somebody that looked like her. Take us to it, Joe.
Yeah. That was backflips at the same time. But back then too, a lot of the artists and the record label people hung out in the clubs in New York. Mm-hmm. Like everybody, the A&R, the video producers, directors, the artists themselves, because they'd be on the open mic. So they'd be like, I want you. Can you be in my video? And that's when business cards were a thing. Come to the office, here's my card, blah, blah, blah. And so it was that kind of a thing. And I just even before that, I remember sitting in my dorm and I'd watch like Paula Abdul or Jody Watley, and then I look at the name on the as the video credit would come up, MCA Records, and you have to dial 411, and then you get to the receptionist, and then you have to ask the receptionist, how do I get in the video? And they send you to the video department. Like it was really hustling, and I was committed to that, and that really became, you know, you send packages, you're licking envelopes, like the way people would send in their demos, like I had to shoot like a video VHS tape for me doing dance and gymnastics and stuff and send it in, but most of my work, 99% of my work came from really battling in the clubs and stuff. So.
Wow, awesome, amazing stuff. Now you mentioned college. What college did you attend? I want you to say.
I went to Springfield College in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Nice. And do you remember, Leslie, your very first professional gig? Your very first gig that you did?
Oh, absolutely. There were actually two that kind of happened at the same time. One is when I've never done cheerleading, but Full Force, the music group, was doing a celebrity basketball game with WBLS, which is a big radio station in New York. Mm-hmm. And they hired cheerleaders to do, I guess, like their halftime show and their sideline stuff. And so I actually got to flip across the gym. I remember I probably did like 10 back handsprings, a full twist or something at the end. Wow. And by the time we finished our routines, heading back to the locker room, I had people handing me their business cards.
Wow.
In my video, blah, blah, blah. The second, which happened around the same time, was auditioning for an off-Broadway play called Club 12, which was a remake of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. Mm-hmm. And in that play was myself, Wyclef, who was going by his government name then Nell, and a couple of other people, and a Big Beat Records, which was part of Atlantic Records, was kind of like funding the project. So they, and Wyclef wrote all the music for that. I actually was an actor in it and danced in it and stuff. And we were all club kids and stuff together. Like so many of us, myself, Flex Alexander, Elise Neal, Darren Henson, like literally all of us were hungry J-Lo club kids, you know, who had aspirations of doing other things. But Big Beat Records had their artist Jay Williams, who had a big record called Sweat, he a dancer, and he asked me to join him and his girl Barbara Tucker. And we became Hugs and Kisses, his background dancers. And we literally, that song blew up so big that we did 3 and 4 shows a night. That's when like was at the helm. So we went from like New Jersey to Connecticut, back to New York. Like I'd be doing gigs from like 11 p.m. to 4 in the morning.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, what the hell? I'm like, Mom, you gotta come to that. I was working like my 9-to-5 job, so I was working at a gym, so I could like carry my stuff, shower at the gym, change, and I'd be on the floor or whatever, like, you know.
Yeah. But it was exciting. It was exciting. So I want to talk about some of the work that you did, man. 30 videos, you know, you choreographed. We love Mary J. Blige. Let me lean into the mic. We love Mary J. Blige. And so you had the opportunity to work with her when she was just coming up. You ladies still have a relationship and a friendship today, right?
Oh, we do when we see each other. I mean, there were times, you know, we've lost touch, but anytime Mary and I see each other, it takes us to a place of us sitting on her living room floor crying because she's still in the projects. The song is on the radio. We've got shows that, you know, everybody's grabbing at her and doing her dirty. Like, it takes us to that time of very humble beginnings because she was really one of my first big choreography projects. You know, Puffy and I are club kids from back in the day, and he was like, yo, I need you to do this, I'm getting you married. I need some rough, rugged, and raw. Give me that sexy Harlem uptown girls. Just, you know, and the girls that I rock with, like we'd all been like the core dancers who we clubbed together and toured together. So, you know, and Mary will say that, you know, I don't dance, and, you know, Leslie taught me everything, but Mary taught me a lot, right? Because all of her essence was,
yes.
And as a choreographer, you have to grab that and put that into their projects so it's authentically them. So, yeah, that was really good times, and I'm so happy and so proud of all that she is doing. That's my sister.
Yeah, she's just really liberating and living her life and living her truth, and we're just so happy for her at the moment. I wanted to ask you, did you have a favorite artist that you like working with, or maybe a favorite choreography piece that you did?
Oh boy, I don't know if any of my absolute favorite choreography piece probably did not make it to light. I think it was maybe a film piece that I worked on that did not get picked up. You know, there's a lot of projects you work on, or even things that you're in and you shoot and you end up on the cutting room floor.
Right.
But as far as favorite artists, I've enjoyed 99% of every tour, every music video, every artist that I've ever worked for. There's maybe one whose ego was probably like, and I'll save that for the book and the documentary.
Yeah, I'm gonna read the book. Yeah, when it comes out. I'm waiting on the documentary. You've been talking about the documentary for a minute now, Les. Come on, we want that one. We want that. I want to talk to you about Living Single. You are iconic. I watch you every Saturday morning. You have the best, beautiful silhouette known to all of us. We know that silhouette. Before we knew your name, we knew your body. We knew your move. We knew what you was doing. We loved your haircut. How did you land that opportunity, Les?
It's so crazy you say that, because literally I remember standing in line at McDonald's one day. Somebody tapped me from behind like, aren't you that dancer? And I was like, how the hell did you? I'd be like, what? And what's crazy is that people don't realize is that, you know, when you're a gymnast and you're in a leotard every day of all of your life, people judge you on your appearance, right, and what your body can do. So there comes some, you know, whether it's weight gain or not small, whatever, there comes some, self-esteem issues and insecurities and all that other stuff. So me always being, I'm only 5'6", and probably then I was like 130, 140 pounds. But I was still probably like the biggest one in the room. And so people don't realize that the thing that I thought cursed me, and I had to, you know, I had large breasts in like the 3rd grade and stuff. So came to be a blessing that people recognize me for this frame, right? So I happened to, I was on tour, I forget who I was with, I don't know if it was Guy or Heavy D, and Otis Salid, who's a directographer who did School Days, you know, good, bad, I want to be alone tonight. He was working on Malcolm X for Spike Lee. And there was a Lindy Hop scene that I was like, oh my God, that's my favorite dance era. I have to be a part of this. But I was on tour, so I couldn't make the audition. They were in rehearsal, so one of my friends who was actually in it, I came up, introduced me to him. It was too late for me to join. I ended up doing extra work on there. And I don't remember I may have given him my business card. I don't know, because I was so enamored by his work. Well, out of the blue, a couple of months later, I get a phone call, and it's Otis Salid on the phone. And you're just like, is that you? Listen, I have this project. I don't have the gig yet, but I have an idea. And I think we can bring it to life, and I think we can sell it to them. But only you can do it. And I need you. And I'm like, anything to work with you, whatever you need. So we literally spent like 100 hours under the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'm doing all these backflips on cobblestone, blah, blah, blah. And so then I see the piece that he finishes editing, and there's one version that might have a front flip, but there's really like no flips in it. So I'm kind of like, oh, but that's what I'm known for. But it didn't need it because he's just that visionary. Where he pulled all the nuances or whatever. And once he had the meeting with them, it was a soul thing, and I just was like, oh my God, but who would have ever thought they would have had a life of like 20 something? Like, you never told me that.
Still living, and we love it. And I want to talk to you, I want to slide into, from that, did that help springboard opportunities with BET? Because you were the first female host in Rap City, right? Like, talk to us about that. That's a huge accomplishment.
No, absolutely. I think it was more of my video work as a dancer, because I came to BET as a guest on Madeline Wood's show. She had the show Video LP.
Yes.
And that's trying to find me, like, I love your work, I need you to be on my show. So she actually had me perform with a piece that I choreographed with 2 other dancers, and then I got to sit on the couch and talk. And 2 of the producers, Keith Bashell and Sunita Brooks, and maybe Eric Watson, came downstairs and said, oh my God, you know everybody, you know everything, you're in the streets, you have these relationships with the artists, please audition for us. I was like, say no more. So I auditioned, and it really was a hard sell. It was a hard sell for, women having voices in hip hop.
Yes.
I credit D. Barnes from Pump It Up for being one of the first really to like be in the trenches with a male dominated form of music and doing work of integrity, really good interviews and stuff. So I kind of modeled myself in that way. But I also had a fight too, because, when the men are upstairs and they are at the helm, they want somebody that is going to float their boat, so to speak, And sometimes women that look like me don't do the job for them, but the producers are like, we don't care about all of that. She's the truth, we need her. And then once they had me on, I did a few test shows with Prince Dejure, who used to do Teen Summit in Rap City.
Yes.
And the artists and the labels who I had known since some of them before didn't even have deals, found out that I was doing a show and started requesting me. So it was just kind of like a win-win and a blessing. And it literally happened right after I auditioned for Living Color and didn't make it. So, I was devastated and brokenhearted. But like God says, when one door closes, another blessing opens. And literally 4 or 5 months later, Rap City happens. So
awesome work. Awesome. Congratulations about that, Leslie. I want to ask you this. Is this true or false? Did Bob Johnson say, you're not the type of woman that men want to see on TV? Is
Absolutely.
That it? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I was saying in regard to, when they first tried to pitch me to be the show.
Yeah.
And the caveat is that sometimes women who look a certain way have to work harder, right? You have to come in smarter than your counterparts. You have to come out, even as a dancer my size. People think I don't do gymnastics, so now I got to come with like the real skills to prove it to you. So I was used to that. But to hear people say it in your face, it doesn't get any easier. And then you have somebody who you're giving all the shows to who is clueless about music. And this is no disrespect to them. Like, take the opportunity, run with it, ride that wave, get your money, do you, girl. But I'm not here to help you. And I was asked for help, and I was like, I can't. And I didn't need like a teleprompter or a script, because I knew probably more of the information than the producers had, because I knew the artists, and I was there at the beginning of their careers.
That was a very, very, very insightful conversation with Leslie Segar. For those that don't know, Bob Johnson is the founder, right, of BET. He used to own the company back in the heyday in the 90s, of course, and he was the gentleman, a black male, African-American male, that had that viewpoint of Leslie and felt like she was not ideal. She would not be something that people would want to see on television. And because of her hard work, her intelligence, her experience in the space of hip hop, and communications, being able to be at all the parties, talking to people, doing the interviews, a lot of people were able to vouch for her, and she was able to get that position. And so again, one of the first females to host Rap City when it was in its heyday on BET. So hats off to Leslie. She's doing some great things. She has her own podcast. She is living life to the fullest. She's a very attractive, vivacious, beautiful person that we see on social media, and she has a beautiful, sweet soul. But she's, more importantly, she's so smart. She's very intelligent, and we want to continue to wish her the best in everything that she does. For my last segment, yes, women in the Universal Hip Hop Museum. That was awesome because I was just honored to be able to talk to these ladies. These ladies are instrumental in the curation of this museum. It is currently being built up in my hometown, the Bronx, New York. It is expected to be open in 2023, I believe. And these ladies are part of the board. They are part of the movement in helping and seeing this happen. So it was my privilege and honor to have these wonderful two ladies on the show. It was Martha Diaz and Renee Foster. And when we go to this clip, you're going to see and understand when they first fell in love with hip hop. Workshops and the arts. And the last time I was here, which was 2 weeks ago, because we're here every first and third Sunday at 2 p.m., we celebrated 5 years of having these discussions. It just touched my heart so much. I'm still smiling and basking from it, but we got to move on. We got to make progress. That's what we're doing. So this is our first show for season 6, and I'm so excited because today's topic is going to be women in the Universal Hip Hop Museum. And I have none other than Renee Foster and Martha Diaz to join me in the conversation today. Good afternoon, ladies. How are you? I think we're on mute.
Hello, Michelle.
Hi, Martha. I think Renee's on mute. Renee,
hi, Michelle.
You? Hi. How are you, ladies?
Very well.
Good. So, ladies, I know your background, but please share. Let me start with Martha. Give us a little background about you, Martha, a little bit of your history.
Well, I'll begin with, I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey.
Okay.
And I am a first-generation Colombian American. Mm-hmm. And I started working in the entertainment industry in my late teens. And now I will be celebrating very soon, almost 30 years of being part of the hip-hop entertainment industry and community. And I've been a filmmaker, an educator, archivist, curator, and now I am the director of the Hip Hop Education Center at the Universal Hip Hop Museum. I also chair the archives, curatorial and education affairs.
Awesome. Thanks, Martha. Renee, how about you? Share a little bit of your background with us.
Wow. I really started my career in radio at KISS FM here in New York. And although I was working in programming and I loved arts and entertainment, I wanted to be trained as a journalist. Mm-hmm. So I went to work for RKO Radio Networks, but very soon after, I went to work in the record industry, and Andre Harrell poached me away from Universal MCA Records to be the first director of publicity for Uptown. But there at Universal MCA, I had the wonderful opportunity to work with a lot of hip hop artists and breaking the careers of artists like Heavy D and the Boys. And that's when I first met the executive director of the Universal Hip Hop Museum, Rocky Bucano, because I also did press on, independent artists on smaller labels that were distributed. I did press on Busy Bee, and that's how I happened to meet Rocky Bucano. Wow. But my work has always been arts, entertainment, and specifically hip hop focused.
Yeah, really? So you always had a thing for hip hop, Renee? You've loved the hip hop music and genre?
I loved it. I became a convert in one night. You remember my first love took me to a concert, and I got to see Angie Stone and Cheryl in the Sequence, and that was it for me.
I'm gonna funk you right on up. I'm gonna funk you right on up. Right?
Yes,
right.
I was all in. At that moment, I was all in.
Wow.
All in, yes.
Yeah, the music, the sound, the beats, and how they were, spitting those lyrics and just so funky and soulful. And just to see women do it was just the thing, right, Renee?
Absolutely. And so Angie was my first, female hip hop idol. And then, you know, as you know, other women were emerging like Roxanne Shante and Antoinette, I was crazy. I would go to underground clubs and bombed out places on the Lower East Side to see rap shows. And very often, you know, I didn't care if I was by myself or not, but hip hop was that way.
Right.
You know, you could go anywhere and you could be a part of it. And that was what really drew me to it.
Awesome. Now, Renee, where are you from? Are you from New York? What part of New York are you from?
I was born in Bed-Stuy and I was raised in Queens. I'm the original Around the Way girl LL Cool J was singing about. Okay, my name is even in his song. But yeah, I grew up in Queens. I have extensive family all throughout Brooklyn and of course in the South too. Mm-hmm. And I'm a first generation New Yorker, which is really unusual for my generation to have only been born in the North,
right?
You know, post the Great Migration. So it's real interesting to, you know, to have both perspectives.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I would have to say I claim Queens. I claim Queens for sure.
Queens. So set the stage for the people that don't know, because we have listeners all over the world, and especially you know, outside of New York. So tell us a little bit of what the neighborhood was like for you as a kid in Queens. The music, the vibe. Kind of set the stage for us, Renee.
Well, it was amazing. There was so much talent to come out of communities. You know, here in Queens. Neighborhoods have their own names, and you know, the kids that came out of Hollis and St. Albans, we're talking about LL Cool J, Tribe Called Quest, you know, De La Soul, and I can go on. And later, of course, there was, you know, 50 Cent and Run DMC. Right. So you think about, you know, how much hip hop was bubbling under, but you can't miss the fact that there was such a cross-pollination. Kids would move and leave boroughs and fall into hip-hop crews no matter what borough they were in, and it was a healthy competition. When you think about all the Queensbridge kids, oh my God, you know, you have to talk about, you know, Mobb Deep, you have to talk about Nas, of course, and of course Jay-Z out of Marcy. Yeah. So there was a really healthy kind of atmosphere of creativity where people felt that having hip hop as a means of expression was what they really identified with and wanted to do.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to switch over to Martha. Martha, for you, where are you from, Martha?
Well, I grew up in Paterson, New Jersey, and my experience was a little different. I mean, I didn't grow up, we didn't have rap stars around our way, unfortunately. Right. But we had, I grew up with immigrant kids from all over the world, Italians, Haitians, Russians, and we were all like latchkey kids, so we used to hang out after school. And for a very long time, I never hung out after school, but one day at 10 years old, I was invited to hang out after school, and that's when I met my tribe. And these were kids who were dancing and listening to music and writing, and at the time, we didn't know it was called hip-hop culture. We were just hanging out, and that's when I first discovered hip-hop in the schoolyard. But I also went to roller skating rinks, and I used to listen to Soul Sonic Force and Shannon and all, you know, and that's when I really started to listen to the music, and I got hooked really quick, and then forget it. Once I heard BDP, KRS-One, and Public Enemy, I knew I was this was the culture, the path, and the truth for me.
Now, did you start as a kid, Martha, like maybe in your teens, start migrating more to New York from Jersey into New York? Was it in your teens? Tell us a little bit about that, because for people that don't know, we got the 5 boroughs, but we always accepted our Jersey people, right, to come on in, party with us, blend with us. So tell us how it was for you as a kid when you started doing that.
Well, my mom used to visit the Bronx, when I was a teenager, and then I learned how to take the bus from Patterson to Port Authority,
That's right.
and I would go to these clubs that I was way too young to be at, but I was there hanging out at the World or the Red Zone.
Oh man, that's it, man. That was it. The women and the Universal Hip Hop Museum. Very entertaining, enlightening conversation with Martha and Renee. Just sharing with us how it all started from them from the very beginning. Well, that was it. That was our year in review, part 1. When we come back in the new year, we're going to do part 2 because I have been blessed to talk to a lot of great people this year, and I just wanted to highlight some of those conversations and share with you. It is the holiday season here and everywhere, right? It is December 19th. We're sliding into the Christmas season. We here at Real Chicks Rock and at Status Network, we want to wish you and yours all the best during this holiday time. Please remember to continue to be safe out in the streets because COVID is still here, right? Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of people this year and we do not want to lose you. You know where I am. I'm everywhere. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on IG. I'm on the website. We are pushing shirts. I am pushing product every week. People are continuing to order these t-shirts. I love it. Thank you so much for supporting me in this year of 2021. We're going to continue to bring you these conversations and discussions in 2022. So just fasten your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Until next time, you guys continue to be well, take care, and rock on.